holy nostalgia.
Here we go. Ready? 1, 2, 3. All right, there we go. Excellent. On today's episode, we welcome special guest Marc Jackson to put 19 to put the 1994 Green Day album Dookie to the ultimate test, the nostalgia test. Welcome to paradise.
Woo!
All
We're
right.
here. Dan, what is up?
Manny,
Guys, this is the first time you're at the Nostalgia Test podcast. Stop right now. Follow us. Like us. Share it. At the end, we're going to say this again. Go to our Instagram page. Follow us on Instagram. That's where you're going to hear about all of our new episodes. We put up polls in there, and guess what? People wanted music.
Yeah.
They're sick of the movies. No, they're not sick of the movies, but we do music. We test all pop culture. So
Yeah.
I'm here with Dan.
What's up here in
from
LA?
And we have a guest today. Special
Today's
guest.
a guest day, which is
Guest
good.
day. You did say you wanted more guests this year. Guys,
we're gonna have more
2024. If you haven't heard about it, we're doing 90s.
Yeah.
We're doing 24 is the year of the 90s. And we just decided 1994. Well, how old were you, Dan? 1994.
Don't make me do math again. Everyone saw what happened on the Toy Story episode when I couldn't do simple math. So I'm going to say 14 because no.
I thought it was
12.
like 13. 12. I was 13.
Because we were 13 in 1995. I was 13.
So we were in middle
Toy
school.
Story. Yeah.
Right? Middle school, 8th grade, 7th grade. So
Something
we're here
like
with Marc Jackson.
What's
All right,
up?
Marc? Well, I'm going to shamelessly plug right now. Marc was one of the first co-founders of Lithology Brewing Company. Lithology Brewing Company. Come down for great craft beer in Farmingdale, right on Main Street, 211A Main Street. Opens Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday and Sunday in the wintertime. And then we open up 7 days a week when it's spring and summer. Come down for your refreshment. Craft beer made on Long Island, made by New Yorkers, for New Yorkers, with New York ingredients. This is Marc Jackson. What's up, bro?
What's up? How you doing?
Good. How are you? Thank you for coming on. I know it was like last minute, but you commented on our Instagram page.
Yes.
And I was like, oh, he's coming on as a guest because I do know that you love music. We've actually gone to like a concert or two together. What was that?
Not to a few shows.
Was it Lake Street Dive?
Yeah, I used to be a supporter of WFUV. We went to one of those marquee member shows. We saw Lake Street Dive perform. That was a good one.
Those guys blew up, and Kristen loves them and like wants to go see them. I was like, I don't know if I can go see them now in like a bigger place because that theater was really cool. So it was like so intimate and stuff. Like, that was a really cool time. So tell us about yourself.
Yeah, well, that's it. Like live music is probably the top 3 things that I'm passionate about. I've seen countless shows. Actually, one of the reasons why I commented on that post you mentioned is because I just bought tickets to see Green Day in August.
Oh, nice.
I just found out about that. They're doing this whole album, and are they doing American Idiot or something like that?
Yeah, and somehow they're going to squeeze in new material too. So, but yeah, they're doing both of those albums in entirety. So that was in my, I've been listening to it all like for the last week now, just like kind of get back into the groove. And then I saw your post, I'm like, hell yeah, it holds up.
It's funny.
Go ahead.
I was listening to it, and Mary, works at Lithology. Shout out to Mary. She was like, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna get tickets. They're playing," and she was the one that told me. I'm like, "They're playing 2 full albums?" I was like, "That's at Shea Stadium, right? Or Citi Field?"
Shea
Stadium.
Dating myself. This is why we have a Nostalgia Test podcast. Shea Stadium. Does Shea Stadium pass the test? Well, no, because it got knocked down. But
yeah. But like Green Day, especially this album was so big when it came out in '94. I mean, and then it blew up, and it's just probably at this point, it made, in my opinion, it definitely made the band. I mean, I remember the Basket Case video. That was like one of those videos where I thought I saw at the time, I was like, this is the fastest drummer I've ever seen in my entire life.
Before Travis Barker.
Well, before Travis Barker, but before this other guy now that's on Instagram, I keep forgetting his name, Espirito something. Like he plays with one-handed, basically. Like he has two hands, but he plays all these unbelievable parts with one hand. Everyone check him out on Instagram. I'll put his handle in the show notes and shout out to him. He's amazing. But he was this guy, the drummer of Green Day was like the fastest drummer I'd ever seen at the time. And I was just like, I can't believe this is like real. Like I couldn't believe it. But amazing video, and it's been interesting getting back into this album.
It's funny you said about the video. I was talking to Kristen this morning about it. I was like, I think what made this album blow up was MTV, because that video was so iconic.
Mm,
Like I still remember the fisheye lens. They're in an insane asylum. It just, the colors like popped. It was just like a really great video. Not only is it a
mhm,
good song and the music was great, it's just that, that was the era of MTV. Like we all watched videos then. And then like
mhm.
they were on MTV. Did they get pop before Blink? I guess they were like pop punk before Blink.
Yeah, I mean, I
Or
would
like
say definitely. I mean, they
they
had
opened the door to having punk music like in the mainstream,
well,
I would
yeah,
think.
because before that you had grunge. Grunge just had taken over, and then these are the bands like Green Day, and then I would say Green Day ushered in a lot of other bands that kind of like closed the door on grunge for a while. It's probably forever, and then nowadays it's coming back a little bit. But I would say they definitely closed the door on it because it was 1994, 1993, and then they won best alternative rock album in 1995. So definitely they had taken over at that time, and it's like ushered in a whole other sound. I mean, before since like Nirvana, Pearl Jam, Soundgarden, and everything like that.
So do you remember, either of you guys remember when you first heard the song?
I can't pinpoint when I first heard the song, but I remember like the period of time, like sitting in my friend's bedroom, just playing it on repeat over and over and over again. It was like the summer of '94, and yeah, like that's just an indelible part of my like music history as far as like what I remember.
Hmm.
I remember I was trying, like sometimes you like paint a different memory. It's like maybe a couple memories together. But for some reason I remember having this album two times. Like one on tape. Like I had a
Yes.
Walkman. I had a Walkman, and I remember like the album cover is unforgettable. Like it's
Yes.
not, and what I love about it, I don't know if you guys have it on Apple Music or not. It moves
Oh,
on
it
Apple
moves on
Music.
Apple.
Yeah.
Wow.
So now you have an album that is never moved before. Now that digital art is a thing, they have it moving. And I was like, oh, maybe this is what it was like meant to be. So
Mm,
now it's like a moving picture, right? Like the explosion is like moving, and there's like planes and stuff flying
mm.
by. And I also vaguely remember seeing this album on CD as well. So like I think I bought it twice. Like, you know, you had to, I guess, because how fast technology moved. So now I bought it three times because I just downloaded it. So this is the third time I've
Yeah.
had this album downloaded, right? So I remember it on the tape deck, and you had to like take it out, put it back. What was crazy is what I like about how I test albums is like how can you listen to this? Is it a shuffle album, or can
Uh,
this be listened to from one to the end? Like Losing
yeah.
Streak is my like, to me, Less Than Jake Losing Streak is my top album that is like from beginning to end, you don't shuffle it.
Mm-hmm.
So like I tested this, I don't know how you guys did it, was that like could I just listen to it from beginning to end and not wanting to go to like the hits,
Mm.
Because
I
back in
feel
the
like
day, what's up?
I feel like I have to listen to it like in the way it was recorded. Like that's the first time like how I was introduced to it, and then I anticipate certain songs that are going to drop after like one song ends. I'm like, oh wait, now this little drum line's coming in. So to shuffle it up would be just like throw me off altogether, probably.
Yeah, that would be
Yeah.
weird.
Yeah, and I think like you know, going back to like getting the album, I had it on cassette only, and it was blue, and that was the thing that like it was so cool. I
It
was
was
just like, it was
blue.
the first thing that I was just like, this tape is blue. There's no other blue tape. There's no, I've never seen a blue tape before, and I was like, holy shit, this tape's blue. And I remember listening to it and like reading the lyrics, which you know, but because you know that's what I used to do. Um and then I remember listening to it all the way to the secret song, which now is not really a secret song because it streams, and so like it's just another track, which is so weird to kind of
Yeah.
see what was once a secret song not be a secret song anymore. So I was just like, that it was really odd to be like, oh shit, there was a secret song, and but it is on the album, so to say, now that it's digital and it's online, which was such a weird thing to kind of hear.
I
Yeah,
feel like
you're
that's
talking
an
about.
aspect of music that's like people don't get to experience that anymore. That secret song, hidden back there. You fall asleep maybe listening to an album, and then all of a sudden, like, bam, you get hit with like
Yeah,
next track.
I
Yeah, because
know.
that took a while to kick in, right? Like you didn't hear All by Myself like for a while. I don't remember it being the next. Like that's what sucked
No, it
about it.
was
I'm
like,
like, it was a while. It was like,
yeah,
oh yeah, I agree, Mark. It's like you left it on. Like if
yeah.
you
I
left it
remember
on
like I
this
did
long,
that with Nirvana's Nevermind. I can remember the first time I'm listening to it. I'm laying down. I kind of fell asleep towards the end. Something in the Way isn't really much of a banger, and then Endless Nameless comes on, and that thing just like tears, right out of the speakers. Just scared the shit out of me. Woke me up. I was like, oh,
Yeah. Once I figured out that albums had secret songs, I would always like go, okay, how much more? Why is it continuing to go? Right. Especially on CD, you're like, wow, this just, it's going, it's still going. And that happened, I think, on Radiohead's Kid A, that like the track just kept going at the end. I'm like, oh, there's a secret track at the, there's a secret track in here. It has to be. And I just let it run. And then it was just like some sort of like crescendo of a note, and like and then that was it. But it was still really cool to hear like these secret tracks, which like you don't, yeah, you don't really get anymore, which is kind of sad. um but it's interesting, like I've been looking at some of the facts of this album, and you know, what's interesting
Danny
about,
Fax is back.
well, yeah, I mean, but what's
Welcome
interesting about
1990
is
90s
this
Danny
to me
Fax.
is like Green Day, this is their third studio album, and not to say that bands hit on their first album, but it's interesting to hear. I mean, they had two albums prior to this, which people really loved, but to think like that third album, it blew them up this way. It's really hard sometimes for a band to even get to that third album, right?
Do
So
you
it's
remember
really,
any of the ones before this,
no, well, that was, I don't like, and I
Mark?
guess I'm not a real fan then.
it was Kerplunk
Yeah.
before that, right?
Yeah.
And I don't
Yeah,
know the other. It might have been like an EP or something. Uh,
I just don't
Yeah.
remember the songs.
I
No.
think a few songs made it onto this one too. Like they were really under the radar indie label. And I think Dookie has got a few tracks from those previous recordings, if I'm not
I think
mistaken.
that makes sense too, because if they're all of a sudden blowing up, it's like put those songs on here.
Yeah,
Because back then, like again, it wasn't like now. You could go to Green Day Essentials and it's like a whole
Yeah.
algorithm figures that all out. Where back
Hmm.
then it's like, oh, all of a sudden you release the single, Basket Case is out. I don't even know if that was the first single, Dan. I'm sure you have that as a
no,
fact
it was long.
but
Yeah.
like so that comes out, it's like, oh, this is doing really well, let's add some songs to this album, like before
Yeah,
we release the whole thing. Like why not, if they're all of a sudden catching fire, you know?
Oh yeah. That's the thing. And this album had four singles: Long View being first, Basket Case, then Welcome to Paradise, and When I Come Around. That's good for an album. And it says Welcome to Paradise was also originally appeared on the band's second album in 1991.
Whoa.
So there definitely was, you know, that crossover from, but that happens too. I mean, I think that
Yeah.
happened with some Dave Matthews Band songs, also made it onto some of the other future albums that, you know, after the first album. But it's interesting to think about like bands like second and third albums and being like, remembering like how good were those third albums or some bands, right? Like I think of like the Strokes, and the Strokes are like their first album's like their big is a huge hit, and then like the second album's like a rush to get it done. The third album, not that many people like too much. I love their third album. And so I think like it's interesting with Green Day, it's just like you have these two albums, they have a real good underground audience, and then they hit with Dookie, and then they're called sellouts for leaving like their original label to go to a bigger label. But it's just like sometimes you gotta go to the bigger label, like to get the exposure. I mean, at that point,
I don't think Green Day gives a shit at this point.
no,
Whether somebody called them sellouts. I mean,
no,
think about like I would say one of the most decorated punk bands and relevant to this day, right? Like
I mean,
to the point where like, what is it? I know a couple albums came on after this, and then it was American Idiot or something. Right? It was American Idiot. What is
yeah.
it?
Then they had their musical.
And the musical. There's a
Yeah, like a
punk band.
Broadway musical.
Yeah, Broadway musical.
Like, what?
Green Day, Broadway musical, Green Day like recently playing in the subway with Jimmy Fallon, like, celebrating obviously 30 years of Dookie. And that's the other thing. Like, we're doing this because it's been 30 years. And to
30
think
years,
that
man.
there's been 30 years since this album came out, I was wondering, you know, when when you go back and you listen to this like album, I know we've been, we listened to it straight through, but I'm curious, like for people, like for you all, like which ones are the tracks that are most memorable for you? Like which are your favorite tracks? Like that you're like, this one, when I hear it, all of a sudden, like I'm there in that moment it came out.
Go ahead, Mark.
That's tough. I mean, for me, with albums, I'm a big fan of. I like that. I want to hear the opening track because that's to me like their introduction to their
Mm.
audience. And they come out of the gate. That song "Burnout" just like rips right into it with a little drum roll, and I feel like it doesn't stop for like the rest of the album. So
Mhm.
it's hard for me to pick just one. Maybe I would say like "Burnout" is up there because that's like the gateway into this album. And now I'm sitting down and I'm ready. But I think Longview really just holds like a special spot. The
Mm.
song was amazing. It was sick. 13 years old, the song comes out. It's got that classic sound of the time with the quiet part that, then the drop into the huge, like heavy sound.
Mhm.
Um, and they were singing about things that was like edgy. Like this was my introduction to punk rock too. I didn't
Mm.
really know much punk before that. I liked grunge. I was into Nirvana. But like thematically, the things that they're singing about, like to a 13-year-old, is talking about masturbation and like being bored and stuck in your house. I'm like, what is
Yeah.
this that I'm listening to? It's like that song just it clicked. It was like right there.
Yeah. I mean, when you think about like when I was listening to the lyrics and I was like, listen, I'm like, damn, it's just like it's so weird to kind of hear these songs because it's like they're especially like comparing the band now, right? Like, and how their lyrics are so they're like talking about politics, and there's a revolutionary aspect to it and all these things. And then you go back to Dookie and it's just like, I'm not burning up, I'm just burning out. And it's just like, but it's still also like interesting to kind of think like in context of what was going on even in the 90s. It could there's something being to be said there. I mean, it's like coming off the hangover of the 80s, and everyone is burned out from that anyway in the 90s at that
Yeah.
point. Um, but
He
yeah,
says, "What's the line? I've stepped in line to walk amongst the dead." Like
yeah,
this is
yeah,
definitely so.
yeah. It's really interesting because when I started the album and that song came on, I was immediately like caught in it. I was like, oh, I forgot
Yeah.
about this song, but it's so recognizable immediately. Like their sound is just so recognizable. It's impossible not to know that there's a Green Day song on when it comes on. Immediately. His voice is just so recognizable. Their style is so recognizable. The five power chords that they use are just all recognizable. Like it's just amazing to kind of hear it because I'm just like, oh yeah, I remember this, really
Can
well.
I just to piggyback on that? Like, I remember thinking when they first came out too, like, who are these British guys? Because like that first album, so much of his affect sounds. I guess he's maybe trying to draw from like the British punk,
Yeah.
school of music there. But it took me a little while to realize, like, oh, they're from like Chicago or something or California.
Yeah, it's so weird because they definitely, you could tell he definitely was um influenced by like the Sex Pistols, like 100%, because that voice is just all Sex Pistols, like that. The it's not even a whining. I don't even understand. I don't even know how to explain what he does at all. Like I really
It's
don't.
funny you say that because there is a point. So I'm gonna admit right now, um, I when we first test this, normally I like think first I do a whole thing where I like think about how I think I'm gonna feel about the album, and I'm thinking about like before I even turn it on, I'm like, oh yeah, man, this is gonna be great, or like, oh, I remember this and whatever, and then I turn it on and I'm like, wow, this is whiny. Like I was like, this is whiny. This is like every punk band. I was like, every song sounds the same. I was like totally disappointed. I was just like, I think I was thinking that it was gonna be Enema of the State. Like that's what I was, because first of all, that's another album that I love.
Yeah.
And I know it's their Main Street, it's their sellout. Yes, Dude Ranch is like the, you know, raw, raunchy produced
Cheshire
Blink
Cat.
182, Cheshire
Yeah.
Cat, like where you have skits and like, like they're
Ugh,
just being dumb and stuff,
miss
almost
skits.
like that's what you needed, right? Where Dookie doesn't have skits at all. It's like
Nothing.
so professional, right? So I was like, why does this all sound the same? And then like I kind of like let my old man get out. And then I listened to it again this morning and I was like, oh, wait, this is good. Like, because it's not just his voice, like the drums are so good. The bass, you brought this up in a text, Mark. The bass is just like, in the bass
Mm-hmm.
in I was like, oh, wow. Like, this band is tight. And
Yeah.
me and Dan, you and I we went to the Madison Square Garden show where
Yeah.
Blink 182 and Green Day played, and they were on tour together, and it was like you didn't know if you were going to hear Green Day or Blink
Yeah.
first. And I hate Blink live. I like Blink on CD. Blink live is, I'm sorry if Blink, hey guys, if you guys want to come on the show, great. If you get a chance to listen to the Nostalgia Status podcast, that's great. I hated taking take off your pants and jacket, but love Enema of the State.
I love the
But
albums they did without what's his face though too. They did 2 albums without him, and I thought they were good.
yeah, it's like I feel
Without
like
Tom
the
DeLonge.
problem is they got Travis rushing everything live, so
Totally.
everybody has to like catch up. Where I remember watching Green Day and going, this band they're superstars. They know how to put on a show.
Yeah.
Billy, he's a lead guy. He is going to entertain you like no
Yeah.
other. And
He's
then the
gonna work
drummer's
out.
just tight.
Mm-hmm.
Tight. Like they could rush through this whole album, but like I never felt when I saw them live. I think I saw them live twice, and I was just like, this is a good fucking band. Like this
Mm-hmm.
band knows how to rock. They're tight. They just know what they need to do to give you a show. And
Yeah.
like I mean, like you're not watching like kids in a garage, like
No.
I
where
saw them.
I feel like sometimes at Blink you do.
Yeah, I saw them at Jones Beach with Blink, and they opened for Blink. That was just before American Idiot came out,
Mm.
and I was like last row, but when it felt like I was like, right there in the mosh pit. Green Day just brought such energy and such like you said, professionalism. It was a tight set. Never forget, it was like one of the best shows I've seen.
Wow.
What'd
Yeah,
you think
and
of Blink?
Forgettable, like they were fine. They were, I enjoyed it,
yeah.
but like, I mean,
Yeah,
and I like Blink.
yeah,
I'm a
I
fan of
get
them.
it.
Ranch is one of my favorite albums too. But like the comparison between that, like they opened for Blink, and I was like, I'm ready. I'm good to go. Like I can go home now. I've
I've done
seen the
that
Yeah,
show.
before. I've done that
you have.
before. Yeah, I don't think you were there, Manny. I'm not sure. Did you come to Jones Beach just to see Travis open for Dido?
I didn't, but I heard that didn't also a comedian, didn't Ben Stiller open up for them
No,
or
no, no,
something?
no.
Was
No,
that was
Jimmy
a different
Fallon
time?
opened.
Jimmy
No,
Fallon,
we saw Jimmy Fallon open for Oasis
Thursday
or some
or
other band, and they got booed off the stage. But like I saw I went to Jones Beach. Dido was playing, but Travis, this other band, was opening, and I was like, and my friends and I were like, let's just go see Travis. And we saw Travis, and we left. We were the only ones leaving, and everyone's like, the concert over? We're like, yeah, you missed Travis, man. And then we just left.
Yeah.
But
You
like,
seen Dido for that one song that she
yeah,
did for Eminem.
she
Yeah.
did. She did that first, and we were just like, what else is Dido
Oh.
saying? Not, I'm sorry,
Nothing
Dido,
else.
He
but like,
opened with that?
yeah, I was just like,
I
what?
know she couldn't wait until the end with that. Like, you don't open with that. You want people to stay.
I'm pretty sure she
Yeah.
opened with it because we were like, what else is going on here? But I remember going to Jones Beach and seeing Offspring, and that was really bad. I felt bad. I was just like, they couldn't
Really?
hold it together. But I think like with Green Day, their songs are very they know they know what they're able to do, and I think that's why like this album does hold up like that, because like they understood what they were. They're like, look, we're a punk band. We have a framework for our music, and we're gonna do this. Like we know exactly how we could play, what we're capable of, and that's what we're gonna stick to. I think it's funny to listen to this album and being like the track "She" is like their ballad because there is no slow song in this whole album. It's like listening to a Slayer album where like it starts and then it's like the whole time and then it ends. So it's really
It's like less than 45 minutes too. It's
it's
just
like 38 minutes long, this whole album.
it's
38.
Crazy.
And there's a lot of songs.
I was there's a lot of songs, and I was like, wait, it's over? Like, because again, when I do these tests, I'm like, all right, I'm gonna listen to it almost a full day at work, and I'm like, I only got like part of what I normally get done, and I'm like, I have to listen to another album? Like, it's already over? Like, it's
Yeah.
crazy. And with the amount of songs, like, I do want to bring up Pulling Teeth,
Go ahead.
right? You know what I got a vibe from? That Thing You Do. Remember that movie?
I remember
You
it.
doing that thing you
Yeah.
do with Tom Hanks, and he kind of plays like a sleazy like producer, and like
Yeah.
the guys have like one hit wonder. That there was like a vibe like that kind of like kitschy like song there. Like could be a commercial song. But like
yeah, but
it's not my favorite song in there. But what were we saying, right?
well, I was just, like you mentioned like the way it's got that like funny like lilt to it, but
Yeah,
the subject matter it's like kind of messed up.
it
Um,
is. But yeah,
yeah,
but I was like, it's just all I was thinking was like, oh, okay, this is just this wacky song. Like, but I had a good time with it. I had a good time. Like that was like, but I will say Longview is probably
That's your favorite. That's your favorite, you think?
that's one of my top ones. That I think when I come around, only because that's like was that no that was the graduation song. That was the year after, right? No, there was a couple of albums after when they did that song, like not Gone
oh,
to November, or there was a song that was like everyone's graduation song.
not Wake Me When September Ends, not that one.
Maybe yes.
Oh, Time
Maybe
of
it
Your
was.
Life.
Time of Your
Oh
Life.
yeah, yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
yes,
yeah,
that was it.
yeah.
That was our graduation song.
It
So
was.
like, yeah, yeah,
Man,
Time
I
of
don't
Your
remember
Life.
shit about high
Yeah,
school.
yeah, they made a video like, and they put it on a projector and stuff
Oh
like
my
that.
god,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
was
yeah,
burned
yeah.
out during that.
I think When I Come Around is probably. I just remember the first time I ever tried to attempt to learn how to play a guitar, which was probably the only time. I was in Canada with my cousins, and distinctly remember the cousins who did know how to play guitar. They were playing this song.
Well,
So When I
that's
Come Around has a special
yeah.
like memory
Mm,
like locked into my brain of being in that basement with these kids that I only saw like once a
mhm.
year, and they were trying to teach me how to play guitar, and that was the song.
That
So
song, like I, that was actually the one song that I felt like I could skip. I would,
really,
and I don't know why, but like I think as I'm listening to it, it was and maybe this is the detriment of it, in my opinion, but like that it felt like it was on a whole other album. Like it felt like it was
Sounds very polished.
right? It was very
Yeah.
polished. It almost sounded like a Stone Temple Pilots song where I was just like, it was like, it's like it was like a different groove. The whole thing was different, and I was like, wow. And then it goes back into like where the album what the album was after like When I Come Around is then like Coming Clean, Eminem Sleepless in the end, like so. And actually 8 through 14 is like, if you think of it, that's like probably side B of the tape. So that's, I think, like the whole other side is like it's like a whole different like vibe on the other side of the tape.
Yeah, which is great because think about I think we brought this up in other music shows, and it always happens because music just isn't written that way anymore,
Hmm.
right? Like this was planned to be on an album that had an A and B side,
Right.
Yeah, you wrote music for the medium that you were producing it in, you know.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So even if they were doing it on a record, there was an A and B side of a record. If you're doing it on a tape deck, same thing.
Hmm.
Now music just isn't written that way, right?
No.
Like, and it goes back to sorry, it goes back to I'm still going through puberty. I mean, it's 1994.
It's taking you back. It's taking you back.
It's taking me so back that I'm getting a high pitched voice. It this is another reason why I love albums that I could listen to one to like you brought up Offspring and it Smash was one of my favorite albums to listen to from beginning to end.
Really?
It's so sad to hear that like
They weren't good live.
they weren't good live, but like the fact that even Mark said it and it happened to me, it happens to me with Enema of the State. If I listen to a song out of order in Enema of the State, that's in Enema of the State. If it comes up on the radio or it just comes up on my like, we chose this song for you on Apple Music, I know and I sing out loud what the next song is automatically. So that's how we used to listen to albums.
Yeah.
You don't listen. No one listens to albums like they don't build albums like that anymore. You don't need to. You could just have like 4 songs and just be like, those are my 4 songs.
Well, yeah.
I feel like more artists these days just like dribble out like here's I got a new song. Like, okay, where's the rest of the piece? But like, yeah.
Yeah. Did you, Mark, like when with Green Day, like did this band influence other maybe like things that you started listening to? Like did it like usher in other bands for you or other maybe like other artists and stuff like that? Like, you know, because certain bands for me, like when I was introduced to them, all of a sudden it like opened a whole other door, you know. And like if we're coming out of grunge and then like Green Day kind of hits in this way in 94, like did it change a pathway for you or usher new artists in for you?
I don't think it did really. 'Cause there was a lot of like that shift in the music scene, right? Grunge came to an end, and then you had, you know, everything else that came out afterwards. I didn't really like the ska like path that was also happening at that time. So you know, I stuck with
You don't
Green
like
Day, and then
skanking? You don't like
no,
skanking, Mark?
it's all right. I mean, but yeah, I don't think Green Day was like it didn't open any musical doors for me. Um, it just was like one more band in that catalog. I'm like, I like this. I like the way this sounds. Maybe
Hmm.
the Offspring a little bit, but
Hmm.
I think it was just timing. They came out, they dropped albums at the same time, and
Mm.
yeah.
Yeah.
So were there like did you go to like punk concerts? You didn't go to like the small punk concerts that were in like
No, that wasn't really in my
all
wheelhouse. Like,
Hmm.
yeah.
I didn't have access to it. I didn't know anybody else who listened to punk, and I didn't probably even realize it was punk when I
Where did
you
you
know.
grow up?
I grew up here on Long Island.
Okay.
I lived in Queens for, you know, the first 10 years, but you're not really going to a lot of rock and roll shows when you're 9 or 10. Um,
Yeah.
so out here, they're like, I didn't have the ability really to like go to those little clubs.
Yeah. Yeah. And I
Yeah,
feel like
it
the
was
music,
weird because
I was just gonna say
sorry,
the
Dan.
music scene on Long Island, like I feel like blew up around like emo, like Taking Back Sunday and stuff like that. Like, and in Long Island, like I feel like birthed like 100,000 of those bands. You know, so
Yeah, no, I was about to say that like especially being in Mineola, we had like was it Deja One?
Deja. Yeah, I never went
Deja
there,
was
but
like
yeah.
Deja was like where I mean I know people who tell a story of like seeing Less Than Jake there.
Yeah.
You know, like little like bands that we ended up listening to like all the time that
Yeah.
started out at all these places. I I know people that were coming from out east to go to Deja One,
Yeah.
you
I
know,
remember.
and they would go to like and maybe I think I would say Green Day had a lot to do with like bands being more popular to go see around
Mm.
here because of it. And I think I definitely got into more of the punk scene because of it. I mean, I was hanging out with more people that were listening to them, so I was like, all right, so like this is what we're listening to, and I was a skier, snowboarder, so videos back then, skating videos, they
Mm.
had punk in it, so you became kind of in it, and then like playing, Tony Hawk's Pro
Oh yeah.
Skater, Pennywise, all those guys
Yeah.
got shine
Millen.
from that. Yeah.
I
So like,
remember going to the Warp Tour in '98 and seeing like Colin and Blink 182, Suicidal Tendencies, and Eminem getting booed off the stage, and a whole bunch of crazy people that were there. Do you remember a band called Reggie and the Full Effect?
no,
Oh God,
no.
yeah, like it's so weird. But I feel like Green Day, like it definitely made it. It definitely opened the door to a lot of other bands, and I feel like you don't get Blink 182 without Green Day. You don't get MXPX really without Green Day. I feel like, and I feel like MXPX, especially like their interestingly enough, their most recent album, which I'm obsessed with for some, like I love it. I feel like they're to me the closest. Like I love the longevity of like a band like MXPX. All the members of the band are there. You have like, still making albums. They still have a very like loyal following. 311, same
Yeah, they
thing.
just never. Yeah, 311. I just recently saw some like Instagram posts like that they're still performing. I'm like, holy shit!
Dude,
Like
They come to the
everyone.
Patchogue Music Festival every other year.
Yeah,
311.
Yeah.
dude.
What? Are
I
they
heard
still
they're
doing that
sick
drum
in
line solo that they did? They
dude,
do all
I
the
heard they're
time.
sick in concert. Like I
I
heard
saw
they're
them
insane.
3 times in what the hell is it called? Shit. It was it was a theater up in the city. It was a really
Hammerstein.
cool theater. Yeah, I think it
Yeah.
was Hammerstein. And they did that drum solo that they do with all of them play the bass
Sure.
drum. That it was crazy. They definitely put on a great that band puts on a fantastic show.
They
Yeah,
just came out with their own non-alcoholic IPA.
of course they did.
Oh my
Can't be
God,
mad.
man.
I can't be mad at that.
Can't
That
be
can
mad
knock
at
the
it.
hustle on that one. That's like
No,
taking over right now.
no. But
Yeah.
Dookie, I just want to also say, like, does anyone know here why they called it Dookie? Because I have the facts, and I'm just curious. Does anyone know? And like, do you like that name for the album?
I think it's a great name for an album. It catches your like, it just stands out as something else. And then the album cover art with that too, like all that
Yeah.
stuff going on there. But I can't say I know where it comes from.
Manny?
Do I like? I mean, it's catchy. I mean, what else would you call this thing? I mean, it's definitely for a 13-year-old. I thought it was hilarious.
Yeah.
You know, so like, what the thing is back then? Who were they playing to?
What?
Did like to me it was like, who were they trying to get? Were they trying to get
Target audience.
18-year-olds? They were trying to get that demographic. Not that they were trying to get like
I
13-year-olds
feel
to listen to them, but probably in that age group,
I
right?
feel like, yeah, 13, 14-year-old, kids like that were just, reckless or just bored and just,
Or just like
jumping
going
on.
through different stages of life, not sure
Yeah.
what to do, you know,
Yeah.
getting yelled at by
Absolutely.
mom and dad.
Yeah,
Maybe some
17
of
and
them,
run out on confusion.
yeah, yeah.
So okay. So the album name, according to Wikipedia, Dookie is it is a reference to the band members often suffering from diarrhea, which they refer to as liquid dookie, as a result of eating spoiled food while on tour. Initially the band was to name the album Liquid Dookie, but this was shortened to Dookie. Okay.
Wow.
Asked in
Good
2014
choice,
if the
probably.
naming choice was a mistake in hindsight, Armstrong described the idea to give the album the title as an impulsive stoner thing. We were smoking a lot of weed, and hey man, wouldn't it be funny if? And then the band submitted the title to the artist Richie Butcher, who created cartoon-like work, and so on. And then the band, boom, is the album's called Dookie. So you know
By the way, you froze up, but I don't think it matters because you're recording or whatever.
that's fine.
But That's
So yeah,
crazy.
yeah. So there it is. So
Whatever
obviously,
you just said was awesome.
oh no, they ate spoiled food. Did you hear that part? They like because they were
No, we
eating. Okay,
didn't.
so they were suffering diarrhea because they were like eating spoiled food on tour, and
Ugh,
then they were gonna call it Liquid Dookie, but then they shortened it to Dookie.
nice.
And because they were like smoking weed, and they thought like, hey, wouldn't it be cool if the album was called whatever? And then that's what the album's called.
Of course that would happen because they were
So
still like, to see that's what's so funny because the album's so well produced,
it
and
is.
then they just do something like childish like that,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know,
Well, some
it's just
tracks
funny.
sound louder than others. Did you notice that? Like When I Come Around sounds louder than another song. Basket Case sounds louder than this other song. There's like a weird skip in like this weird area where it's like I feel like going into Longview, I think it is, or right before Longview from the song before Longview, and then it's like a do-dum, do-dum, and then it's like it stops and then it continues that bass line, and I'm just like, it's such this weird mixing issue, but they kept, no matter what, they just
No one
kept that
told the
in.
producer like this is the same song. It's going into it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. And it's so funny because when I heard that, I was like, oh, I remember that. I'm like, oh my God, I remember that on the tape. And I thought they would fix it in the album in the digital, but I guess not. I mean, they're like, fuck it, just leave it. It's Dookie.
Can I?
yeah,
There's one thing I wanted to bring up. We before we are talking about how like MTV probably ushered in like brought them to their fame, all the music videos that were coming out. But I think I think a lot needs to be like could be said for their performance at Woodstock, because that I think was the other thing that like kind of solidified it for me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I wanted to go to Woodstock so bad, but I, 13, I really didn't have the means to get up there. But I could watch that. They streamed it, live on MTV. I think it was right. But
yeah.
like seeing
Yeah.
their
94.
performance,
Yeah.
yeah,
1994.
it wasn't pay per view, right? Was it MTV probably? But
They
No, I think
probably,
yeah,
like
they
their
just like
performance,
streamed it. It was
yeah.
just something that
yeah.
it was pay-per-view in '99, I believe. That's when they got greedy,
Oh,
and that
okay,
was when
right,
like
Yeah.
the money grab.
things
Yeah.
got
But
really
like the
bad.
mud fight breaking out between the audience and
Yeah,
Green Day, like just it devolved into utter chaos, the taunting back and forth. Like that also, I think, helped solidify them as like, oh, this is who they are. You get to see these three punks up on stage, just having fun and going at it and playing some rock and roll or punk
Wow.
rock. But
Yeah. That was really
that's
cool.
a
I
great
remember that.
memory because I remember that now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw the 1999 documentary on HBO of Woodstock, which is not a good Woodstock
The
to look
99?
back
No, the
at.
99
Yeah,
Woodstock was terrifying.
but like they brought up how like great '94 was.
Yeah.
Like even though the mud thing had, everybody was all into like the fact that it rained, they didn't care. Like
it was like all in good fun at that point.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. '99 was crazy. It was like Lord of
Wow.
the Flies shit.
Yeah, they
Yes.
played a lot of good songs too. They played like most of the Dookie album and then a few other songs from like older albums. That's amazing. Yeah, but that's the thing about Woodstock 94. Like you had bands that were like Green Day that were like fun. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's the thing. Like that's why I think like this album, it's fun. Woodstock 99, there was nothing fun
Well,
about
there was a
like,
lot of angry. The whole point of the documentary was even just how like the music that was out then, just like anger and break this down and break that and
yeah.
fuck everybody, and Fred Durst definitely lit a match basically, and
Yeah.
just kept going with it. And then what's his name? Red Hot Chili Peppers was not stopping, and kind of. If you haven't seen the documentary, it's
Oh, yeah,
crazy.
it's a good one. It's wild.
Wow.
Wow.
1994 though had some killer albums that came out. I mean, so this album came out with so many great albums. You have Super Unknown from Soundgarden. So you still have like that the grunge era is still there. You have Definitely Maybe by Oasis, which I love. The Grace album by Jeff Buckley, which was really great. Vitology by Pearl Jam. The Downward Spiral from Nine Inch Nails. Live Through This by Hole. I mean, it was a Jar of Flies by Alice in Chains. This was actually a strong year for music. I mean, even on the hip hop side, you have Illmatic from Nas comes out in 94. Far Beyond Driven by Pantera, I mean, the Southern Playalistic I can't even say it, by Outkast. Outkast's album comes out in 94. Crazy Sexy Cool by TLC. I mean, look, just basically 1994 was an unbelievable year, plus Weezer, the Blue Album, was an amazing year for music. So it just to see Green Day kind of come out with an album to like last all this time, but a lot of those albums, when you think about it, like I'm like I still listen to Definitely Maybe, like I still listen to that Oasis album.
You know, as you talking about this, I was thinking about No Doubt. Remember No Doubt? Weren't they really punk at first?
Yeah, they were.
Yeah,
Right?
and
They
it
were
was
like punk.
ska-ish too, right? They had like the horns going.
Yeah, they changed so many. I just remember with No Doubt, it was like they changed every album they came out with was like a new genre for them. Like,
Well,
because as the
yeah,
different albums came out, it was like all of a sudden they were like, there's a little bit of rap in there. They turned into like really poppy, and
yeah.
like, and then they broke up. But like, I remember they start out, they were a punk band.
She was
Yeah.
on. She did a song with Bradley Noel, from Sublime. Oh
Seeing Red,
God,
or I see.
yes, 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 yes. It was amazing. So she
Yeah,
was in that scene. I
and
mean,
she was
they
a
were part
great
of it.
performer, man.
Yeah, yeah.
Damn.
Any like we're coming up on like some time to like we're gonna play something for you all from one of our podcasts. Brothers in podcasting, Brian Colburn, who Manny, can you believe that he was on our podcast like in 2021?
That was already that long ago.
Yeah,
The one when we did like the
Billy Joel.
playlist, Billy Joel's playlist.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. But
crazy.
let me play everyone. Let me just play what Brian Colburn had to say about the Green Day album Dookie. We asked him to chime in. And if you haven't checked out Brian Colburn's podcast, My Weekly Mixtape, check it out. It's blowing up. He's got guests on there from like all sorts of amazing bands.
Dan talks about it all the time.
I love it.
He's like, I wish we had those guests. Let's go.
He's killing it, Brian. We got have us on. But yeah, and check him out. Here's what Brian had to say about the Green Day album.
Gentlemen, Brian from My Weekly Mixtape here. Wanted to chime in on your question. Does Green Day's Dookie pass the nostalgia test? This one, I hope you both say a resounding yes to, because let's be honest, Green Day is going out on a tour this summer, a stadium tour with openers The Smashing Pumpkins, Rancid, and the Linda Lindas. And they are touring, playing two albums in their entirety. American Idiot, which is celebrating its 20th anniversary, and Dookie, celebrating its 30th anniversary. So right there, stadiums are selling out across the country to hear Dookie played in its entirety. So right there alone is a good argument for why this album passes the nostalgia test. Now let's talk about the hits. Obviously, Longview, Basket Case, She, When I Come Around, all amazing songs. Welcome to Paradise, originally recorded for the Kerplunk album, is heard here in its absolute glory, the definitive version of Welcome to Paradise. This is a band that's energized. Yes, I get it. This is their major label debut. So fans of 39 Smooth and Kerplunk, the Lookout label days, might not be a fan of Dookie, but Dookie introduced Green Day to fans all over the world. It made pop punk a thing. Like, this is the album that truly ushered in pop punk in the 90s into the early 2000s. And by ushered in, I don't mean all of pop punk. Pop punk is alive and well in the 90s, especially on an indie level. But Green Day's Dookie took pop punk into the mainstream, and that's the difference here. Burnout, Having a Blast, Chump, like every single song on this album is great. But the best tracks are the ones I actually think are outside the singles. Pulling Teeth is an amazing tune that shows where their musical sensibility lies, later on in their career. You talk about songs like Sassafras Roots and Coming Clean, In the End, and then FOD. What a great album closer. But the fact is, if you own the CD, you know FOD is not actually the album closer. It's the brilliant Trey Cool and All By Myself, one of the premier hidden CD tracks of all time. So there you have it. Green Day's Dookie passes the nostalgia test with ease. Hope you gentlemen are doing well. Looking forward to having you guys on my weekly mixtape at some point in 2024. But until then, keep up the great work and looking forward to talking to you soon.
Wow. Thank you so much, Brian.
Man.
If you haven't checked out again, like check out my weekly mixtape. Go to the website, myweeklymixtape.com. Follow on Instagram and Twitter and everywhere that you follow at my weekly mixtape. Brian's dropping episodes pretty much weekly. Obviously, the last episode was he was joined by Desmond Child, and they were diving into the stories behind songs that Desmond Child wrote and co-wrote with Kiss, Bon Jovi, Aerosmith, Alice Cooper, Joan Jett, and the Blackhearts, Cher, Meatloaf. I mean, talk all about that. I mean, Brian is he's like an encyclopedia of music. I mean,
I know, man.
check out our episode with Brian that we did in 2021, episode 53 of the Billy Joel playlist, which is much more of a Billy Joel just like love letter.
Shameless plug. But I gotta say, he's got a huge point that they are still selling out stadiums. Like,
yeah,
it's hard to do, especially nowadays. Everybody's so like, they just move on really quickly, and people still hanging on to Green Day. And I didn't know that Smashing Pumpkins, that was my first ever big concert.
Yeah.
Smashing Pumpkins. Yeah, man. I think I was like maybe 15 at the time or 14. I don't know. But I went to Madison Square Garden, and I think I got high at that concert too. No, I definitely got high. I didn't think I definitely got high.
That was your first major concert?
Yeah, like first like big arena concert.
Mark, what was your first concert?
My first big concert that I remember, it was Lollapalooza 95.
Wow.
Yeah, it was
really
pretty set the bar.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Shit.
I think Hole played. They were the Sonic Youth, Hole, Soundgarden. I think Soundgarden was there. It was wild. It was great.
I still haven't recovered from Chris Cornell dying. I'm every day I'm like, why did this happen? But amazing voice. Rest in peace. That's an amazing first concert. My first was 311 at Jones Beach for the Blue album, which was really interesting, really amazing. And I was a freshman in high school. That was like my first major concert. Before that, it was Ninja Turtles live, which was amazing.
Yeah, buddy. Let's go.
Yeah, with Splinter Cell,
I guess
Stepping Stones.
I guess my real
I
first
had the tape.
concert. I take that back. Arena, like I guess my first concert was because I'm a twin, and my twin is a female. We went to New Kids on the Block in Nassau Coliseum.
Dude, that sounds amazing.
First ever, and I gotta say, rocked out. They were good. They were good.
They were good at the time.
But
But
on the live music.
Exactly. I've seen Hanson. I've seen Hanson live.
Bob.
You know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Our friend Brian.
I saw Alanis
Morissette. You saw who?
Alanis Morissette.
Oh,
nice.
That I would love to see
in her
Alanis
prime.
Morissette.
That's a good time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In fact, the one that got away, Radiohead opened for her. And I didn't know. I didn't go I just was going with my friends, and I'm in the parking lot. I'm like, this song sounds familiar. I know this song. I fucking missed it.
Wow.
Didn't see them.
Oh my God.
What an interesting opener.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Dude, first of all, when Brian said Smashing Pumpkins were opening for for Green Day, I've seen the Smashing Pumpkins some years ago. Not good.
Not good.
No, dude. It was sad because like they were such a good band, but like most of the band
band.
isn't around with them anymore. And it was just everything was like all the music was angry. Like every song that was a hit, he just
He's
played
angry.
like. But
Have
yeah,
you heard
wow.
interviews with him? He's angry.
Yeah, but Green Day's Dookie, this is one where like at first when I was listening to it, I was like, I don't know what's gonna happen, but it's interesting. This happens to you a lot, Manny, where like we have conversations and then all of a sudden like that little turn happens,
Yeah,
and then it's just like, huh.
it
So like
definitely happened. And I gotta give it to Mark.
that
That
instant,
text, what
yeah,
the Instagram text of you saying no, it still slaps. I was like, all right, let me give this a second listen, because like I was gonna review this on just one listen,
yeah,
and yeah, so
absolutely.
you experienced it, Dan, the turnaround. When
I
did you
I mean, right
come
now I'm
around? When
about
I come around,
when I'm
like
coming around. It's when I come around, I'm saying that the Dookie passes the nostalgia test. It's a classic album. It's a really great album. It's fun. It takes me back to 1994, but at the same time, I mean, most of these songs I'm 100% listening to like over again. I would definitely listen to it again and again. It's just like, especially you know, Mark, and you're right. That opening track is so important, and this one is so good. Burnout is an extreme. I started singing it as soon as it came on. I was like, wow, I remember all these words. I was
crazy
really great.
that happens. Like lyrics are locked in your brain that you haven't.
Locked.
Like, when was the last time you heard Burnout?
It's been a long time.
Right, and then all
Probably
of a
since
sudden it's just like
1997.
it just like clicks right in.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
no, you had no idea that was still in your brain,
No,
like locked away,
not at
just
all.
collecting dust.
Yeah.
And
I was
then all of a
standing
sudden
there.
it's like, oh no, I know it.
Yeah.
I know the song.
I was standing at work at the USC campus, just like listening to Green Day, being like, "This is weird," but like, okay, and like I
Yeah,
was just like singing to myself like "Burnout" while I was like waiting for it to, like walking to class, and I was like, "Okay, all right, this is a good start. This is a good start," you know.
yeah.
But I needed multiple listens because I feel like there's an expectation again, like, and I think Mark, you're right. Like when you said like people like the way these albums were made was like to have two sides, so to have two different like feelings, and I was like not ready for that because it's like you have to translate, you have to just basically like put it onto digital, and you don't get that feeling of like turning the tape to like go, okay, this is the second side, so it's like a whole other space. It's so because that 8 to 14, it's like it's like a up and then a down, but then a up
Yeah.
again a little bit, you know. And so like yeah, it's definitely needs a second to third listen.
That's funny you said. I was thinking the act of doing that. So you're saying the act of taking out the tape deck, taking a break,
Yeah,
switching it.
yeah,
It's like they need to put an intermission in
Yeah.
between the digital the digital copy, because
I was talking about this with my friends. I think one of my buddies said that I think it was a Tom Petty album. He did that like on the CD. He's like, "All right, well, this is the point in the album where anybody who's listening on tape or vinyl has to flip it over. So let's just give them a minute. All right, let's
that's
go."
so
And then like,
oh
I
wow,
love that. I mean, that to be like
yeah,
aware of that is huge.
yeah.
And
yeah,
I'm like wondering if like new artists even there's no way they even if they even know,
But
you know?
that's what the role of the skit was too, or the sketch on the album, right? Like I miss that. Like you
Do
had that
you?
on.
I don't know.
I
I feel
do.
like
I
really.
loved it. The Locks did it on like you know, their albums on We Are the Streets and Money
Fuji's
Power
did it.
Respect. The
Fuji's
Dookies
had
did it.
yeah.
the
Smacking
Stone Age.
Eminem had
Isaiah. Smacking
which you
Isaiah
say,
did
Mark?
it.
Queens of the Stone Age, they got an album that they
Yeah.
frame it like it's on the radio, and so that
Yeah.
these little skits in between with like the DJ.
Yeah. They did it.
Yeah.
Um Less Than Jake does it. They have like little like weird
Oh
intros
yeah.
here and
This is
there.
Harry J. Reynolds and you're listening to Less Than Jake.
Yeah, and then they did that other thing where they have, you know, in Blink 182 did it. And I feel like it gives like a whole other feel to the album. You don't get that anymore.
The whole time I've been this whole podcast, I have the Dude Ranch scream of the girl screaming about seeing it. I don't know. I guess it's herpes or something. She's like, ah, ah.
Oh, Benoit
And he
balls.
said, yeah, yeah. That's all I'm thinking in my head while we're going through this. Of like
That's
that
weird.
skit, like that skit was
Yeah.
like it was loud. All of a sudden, it came out of nowhere, and then like they go into another song. You're like, wait, what just happened?
Yeah.
It was like, what for?
But that's why also like in that Smacking Isaiah like album, you have like even the clip from The Big Lebowski, which is hilarious.
Yes, and the clip from the when he's talking about like it's what's his name? Not the more cowboy bell guy. Shit. Suicide King, not Suicide Kings.
Christopher Walken. What are you talking?
Yeah, Christopher Walken's in it. Yeah, there's a skit of him talking about like he's about to kill someone. He's like a mobster in that. Was it Suicide King?
In True Romance. Maybe it's from True Romance.
I think it's from True Romance. That skit's in there too. Mark, you don't know Smacking Isaiah, right? No, you said you weren't really into like different. Yeah.
And in this
crazy album.
This heavy metal album by this band called Bleeding Through, they use that part of the Boondock Saints when Willem Dafoe was like going, there was a firefight, and then like all of a sudden it's like, and when I listened to it for the first time, I was like, whoa, wait a second, that was the Boondock Saints. Like, so bands, I feel like I don't know, I like that. It was something that I missed, but anything funny, I love. But yeah, I'm saying it passes the nostalgia test. Manny, what do you think?
Yeah, no, I'm saying, yeah, it does it all. It brings me back. We didn't even we talked about Basket Case for a second, but there's no way, there's no way I'm not belting Basket Case when it comes on. Like wherever I am, like it just, I'm singing it the way he sung it in the video.
Mhm.
I'm remembering the fisheye lens. Like it's a great memory, and it's a great song. It's still a great album. Every time Green Day comes on, I never go like, oh god, it's Green Day. Like even Blink, and I like Blink, and I was saying Enema State, but there's times where I'm just like, yeah,
I'm not ready for this.
I don't need to have this on. But like Green Day, I'm not skipping the song.
That's how I feel about Weezer. When I hear it, I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too lately. Like I'm like, yeah, I remember this.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's just like, I got it. Buddy Holly was whatever. I'm done with this. Like, I get it.
In the Garage, I like that song. I'll let that one play out. It doesn't get.
Yeah, that and like songs from Pinkerton, I'll listen to some of those, but like not really listening to the whole Blue album. Being like, yes, like the Sweater song, I'll listen to maybe, but like, I don't know. One day we'll probably have to listen to it, Manny.
I don't really like Weezer, and a lot of people like to tell me I look like him because I'm like, is it because of my glasses? Like, that's the only reason why.
I wear glasses does not make you Rivers Cuomo.
Like, did anyone ever tell you look like Rivers Cuomo? I'm like, yes, like maybe 20 at this point, and I'm just like, it's because of the glasses. If I took them off, you wouldn't say that at all.
They'd be like, whoa, who are you?
But like, Mark, we know what you're gonna say, so just say it. Does it pass?
I would pass. Flying colors.
Just say it.
To the point where it passes now. Like after having this conversation and just thinking about it, I'm like, maybe I should buy tickets to this show. Like, when's the next time? This could be the last time I can see them live. They might break up, or they just might just call it quits. Like, or just seeing like being able to see him still perform at his prime. Like, I'm not saying he's at his prime, but I'm sure they're gonna put on a fantastic show. Yeah. So what does it cost? What did it cost? $90?
No, more than that.
More than that.
Dude, it's gonna be way more than that.
Like $150.
What?
Whoa.
Yeah.
For a good seat?
I'm in like section 3 something. I think that's just what the tickets are going for, right now. I think, yeah. If you want to get in the mosh pit, it's like $500 though. So
That's crazy.
I mean, there you go. I mean, the whole band passes in the nostalgia test to be selling a ticket for that much.
I mean, you could see Iron Maiden for like an eighth of that price and be in general admission. It's unbelievable.
Crazy.
That's crazy to me. But like,
I mean,
no one's going to see Smashing Pumpkins for that price. They're going to see Green Day.
No.
And it was when I read that they were doing Dookie and American Idiot in their entirety, that was kind of the censure for me. Like, I want to see that one more time.
Yeah, and now, you know, in the beginning we were saying how they're gonna do that. Well, it's a 34-minute album.
Exactly.
So like they could do it because it's a 34-minute album. They're not gonna take a break. They just go right through.
We're gonna do Dookie twice, and then.
You know what? We want to play that song again. Why not? Just go for it. Who cares? Like, it doesn't matter. But I remember I saw, and then I have this Billy Joe Armstrong story. It's really like I used to go to a lot of shows in Manhattan. I was hanging out with my friend Matt Airy. We all, shout out to wherever he is. Anyway, he loved this guy Jesse Malin, and Jesse Malin was a lead singer to a band called Degeneration. Punk band in New York. But then Jesse Malin went on his own. He had these like solo albums. They're actually pretty good, like singer-songwriter type rock albums. And he was playing the Bowery Bowery Ballroom, which is like literally a bar in a basement if you've ever been there. And just in our audience, like, it's a bar, and then you go upstairs, and it's like I don't even know what to call it. It's a stage, but like there's room for like maybe 95 people or whatever it is. It's like super small. I've seen the darkness there, which was crazy to see the darkness in this album, in this place. Yeah, it was out of hand. But I remember seeing Jesse Malin there, and then all of a sudden this guy walks on stage to sing with him, and I'm like, motherfucker, that's Billy Joe Armstrong. That is a lead singer to Green Day. He just like started singing. They sang a Degeneration song. And I was blown away. I was like, holy shit. I was like, to think that like how famous he really is, you don't really think about it until like you see him and you're just like, this guy's super fucking famous. Green Day is a huge band, and he's playing to like 95 people. And it was like really amazing. So that was really cool. I remember that. I'll never forget.
I love those kind of stories where, because look, someone's got to pay $500 to get that close, and you were in a 95 person, probably paid what, $25 to see Jesse Malin.
I paid more for drinks.
Yeah,
exactly. For the ticket. Are you kidding me? Oh my god! And then we got locked out of this guy's apartment, and it was a whole disaster. But yeah, that was really cool. But awesome, Mark. Before we close out, I remember emailing you. I was like, remember to bring your Rocky ranking, and we need to know how you rank the Rockies from best Rocky, and that includes Rocky Balboa, not the Creed films, just Rocky and Rocky Balboa, all the Rockies and Rocky Balboa. Best to worst Rocky.
Okay. And what's the Rocky to Rambo conversion rate? 'Cause I've seen a few of those and a few of these.
So
have
Mark,
to do that.
Are you even a Rocky fan? I'm assuming no.
Yeah. Who's not going to root for Rocky? Of course, you got to be a Rocky fan.
Yeah.
But have you watched like all of them?
No.
Like your boy Kevin.
Okay, so you haven't seen which one?
Huge Rocky fan.
I think the only reason I've seen any of them was because Kevin made me watch them, and I liked them. It wasn't like he had to hold me there, but he's like, "You need to see this movie." So
yeah.
Like, so ready? Do I just say the ranking? Like, all right,
just go. Let's numbers.
Go.
All right. First is the first one. 1. Then 6. Then 2. 3, 5, 4.
You put 4 at the end?
Yeah, that's the one with the robot, right? Is that the?
That's the Russian one, the
Manny.
80s one.
Manny.
Do you know what? I get it though. You know why I get it? I know I've had conversations with Mark, and like he's not really into that kind of movie.
162.
Yeah, 162 is its first. That's a first for us. Our ranking here, a 162er. He's a 162er.
Wow,
crazy.
I remember seeing Balboa and like, oh, I like this. This is like reminds me of the first one, which was so good.
And I'm not arguing that the 6th one wasn't good.
Wait, you put 5 before 4?
Yeah. I wrote it down, Manny. It's
You put
162
five,
354.
which is considered like the worst one ever before 4.
But, I haven't seen them all, so I was kind of basing it off of.
Okay, you haven't seen them all.
Okay, which ones haven't you seen?
Which haven't you seen? Please tell us.
I've seen Rocky 1 and Rocky 6.
Okay. Oh, you've never seen the other one.
No.
Where'd you put 3? Where'd you put 3?
I put it in a number 4 spot.
After 2.
All right, I'm gonna help you out.
Okay.
I'm gonna help you out.
Wait,
This is an
that was the
asterisk.
greatest moment when he's like, I've seen Rocky 1, Rocky 6. And then we were both waiting. We were both standing there like this, like, and then that was it.
Dan, he texted me. He goes like, what about if I haven't really seen it? I was like, please let's just
Yeah,
talk
it
about
doesn't
this during
matter.
the thing because it's gonna be great.
Oh,
So I'm
we
gonna
got a
help you
minute.
out on this, Mark. I'm gonna be more help you out.
Help him
So I
out,
say
man.
it's a 1, 6, 2, 3, 4, 5 because you can't. You won't be able to. People will be attacking you. The 5 listeners that we have will be attacking you for putting 4 before 5.
Mark,
4
you
should
have to
never
watch-
become 5.
you have to watch Rocky 5 now just to know how bad it is. And you have to watch the
Okay.
whole thing because Stallone himself has given it a 0.
Yeah. And Rocky 4 is like an 80s heaven.
It
It's
made
an
like
80s
$300
montage
million.
heaven.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh
And
my
Rocky
God.
4 is like one
Yeah.
of my favorites.
Off of
because
just
how
seeing-
80s it is.
I
Off of
figured the
just
further
seeing-
away. Yeah, sorry.
No, go ahead, Mark. Go.
I was just gonna say, I figured the further away you got from the first one, they kind of like,
I
Well-
love that your rationale was like this. Rocky 6 kind of reminded me like of Rocky 1. I'm like, but you only watched Rocky 1.
Yeah, that's why it really like ring a bell for me.
Oh my God.
Oh,
That
this-
I
was
was
the
like,
greatest
I was kind of
moment.
okay with it. I was like 162, all right, not bad.
3.
3 and 4, you kind of like,
Yeah.
depending if you like 80s movies or you like,
Yeah.
3 was good. I mean, I put 3. I think I've made 3,
Yours,
like,
Manny,
top.
was 413,
4, 1,
I
3, yeah.
think. And mine
Yeah.
was 143.
I changed it at one point, but yes, yeah.
And then I did 143625. That was mine.
Well, we had to save Mark, and you know,
Well, this is all staying
5
in the
has to be at
podcast,
the
but I
end.
mean, like,
Yeah,
that was the greatest moment, though. That was like,
I love it.
because
I've never
everything
seen
but
it.
that last
Can we
two.
talk about Rambo instead?
Well, when we
Just the
do
comparison
Rambo,
between
Mark,
the two
you'll
of
come
those.
back on and do Rambo then.
All right.
Especially those last two, which were insane.
Oof. Yeah.
Those are the craziest movies I've ever seen. Well, there we go, everyone. Green Day passes the nostalgia test. It's unanimous. 1994 classic. 30 years. Congratulations, Green Day, for 30 years of Dookie. That sounds really weird, but also just more than 30 years of just making music, having a Broadway musical, doing everything that like I cannot believe a punk band has done in the music industry. And I mean, hopefully maybe 20 more years. I mean, more music. Why not? Let's break out those power chords. That's how I learned 7, 9, 7, 6. Let's get those chords out there, like make some more songs. Mark, thank you so much for being on and coming on and talking Green Day with us. It was like a real
And thank
pleasure.
you for
Amazing.
the amazing ranking. I appreciate it.
Thanks.
One of the
Thanks
greatest
for having
Rocky rankings of all time.
Buzz in the tower would be proud. Guys, don't forget to follow us on all your social media platforms. That I think we're on Twitter, now known as X, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. Dan's doing a great job. We got a whole new look on there. And, catch us on anywhere you get your podcasts.
Yeah.
Don't forget to like, subscribe, and tell us what we should put to the test next
Yeah. And everyone,
on the Nostalgia Test podcast.
90s all the way. Peace.
Later.
Thanks for listening to today's episode. Please subscribe to the Nostalgia Test podcast to know when new episodes drop. Don't forget to leave us 5 stars and a positive review so more people can find the podcast. Share your thoughts and memories on today's topic on our Twitter @NostalgiaTest and on Instagram @TheNostalgiaTest. Tune in next time because you never know what pop culture will pop up on The Nostalgia Test.